All right, great, good, bam. Now, we've got one more final thing for it. It's not actually the last thing, but we've got another awesome thing. I told you earlier on that we are going to be digging in a little bit more to another game, this one, Alt Frequencies. Let's take a look at the trailer and talk to the devs.
Here are the facts. Amal Macmillan, politician, pro-time loop activist and violator of human rights, actually leads the group that activated the time loop. Amal Macmillan is the person who ordered to activate the time loop.
We'll be talking about the vote all week, so if you have thoughts or opinions on the time loop, let us know.
We need to find out how this time loop will impact our lives.
Amal Macmillan, politician, pro-time loop activist and violator of human rights, actually leads the group that activated the time loop.
Wait, what? Are you hearing this, Jenny?
Alt Frequencies.
All right, so your brain might be hurting right now and wondering what the heck you just watched. Why radio and time loop and all that stuff? What is happening? Well, don't worry, it's fine. It confused me too, but that's because I wasn't seeing these clearly. And so we brought in two awesome individuals. Guys, we have brought in the wonderful, wonderful devs of Alt Frequencies, Diane and Miriam. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for joining. You guys are the founders of Accidental Queens, the creator of Alt Frequencies, and another normal lost phone. I get those backwards in my head, but I think I did it right that time, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Awesome.
Pretty much.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm really excited to dig into this game. It's a really, really interesting, cool kind of dynamic of how to play a game, how to tell a story. And I'm really, really interested in picking your guys' brains to hear how this all works. So before we go to the next thing that we've got planned here, I want to thank you so much for showing up at, which is like 17 in the morning for you right now. Like
2 in the morning.
It's 2 in the morning for you. They're in France, right? France, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. So everybody claps in chat. The real MVPs here, showing up at 2 in the morning. All right, thank you guys. Thank you. Okay.
Two games of League of Legends who are showing up for the stream. That's fine.
Listen, I appreciate that's probably more than most could ask for, right? You know? Really quickly, before we dive into this conversation, we've got a kind of cool setup for this. Barry is going to be rehydrated and brought back in to play this game while we talk about it. It's a cinematic story kind of a game, so he's going to be playing in the background, and these two wonderful individuals will stop us at any point if there's something important that we should take a look at or something key. That'd be awesome. So Barry is there. Hi, Barry. I don't know if you could say hello, but he is here and he is controlling things. So before we get into what's going on, I'm just out of curiosity. Let's go, Diane and then Miriam. Tell me what you guys do, what's your roles, and how did this game come about?
I'm a programmer at Accidental Queens, so I do the coding bits to make games work, and also I just work on games in general. So I was part of the core IDs of Alt Frequencies. I brought that on the table and we worked on it.
Awesome, awesome.
And I am art director and graphic designer, so I do the drawings in the game. And also I am co-founder of Accidental Queen, so I do all sorts of indie game things to make the company work.
Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, great. So now I gotta ask, this game and your other games have a kind of feel to them as far as this. It's hard to pinpoint, I'll be honest. It's hard to pinpoint, but like I know that it's there. It has to do with telling a story through technology. Maybe that would be a way to say it. Like, if you know what I'm trying to get at, could you speak to where that idea and design has come from?
Why not?
Yeah. So there's some of that, definitely. The previous games were telling a story through a found phone. So you were digging through messages and all the contents of a found phone to understand what was happening. This time it's the same thing, but in a radio, fake radio stations. Generally, the idea is that we believe real life is a cool story in itself. We don't have to dig super deep into fantasy, science fiction-y bits to find interesting ideas. Like, we have cool stories happening around us all the time. Every phone tells a story. Every interaction with your radio tells a story. Maybe it's mundane and you find it not interesting, but with the right perspective, it becomes just amazing to explore and discover. So that's the main idea behind our games, and we try to just go like right into that direction. Like, let's take the most mundane everyday life thing and make a cool story out of it, because the interactions that are there are super fun to toy with, and we try to create like fun environments to explore the ideas. So, like, a radio, not fun. Playing with a radio, starting to get fun. A time loop across multiple radio stations, and you have to save the world. That's pretty cool. So that's how we we make things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, was there ever an elevator pitch moment where you were just like, all right, bear with me, okay? Radio time loops.
Yeah, actually, she had that pitch, and at first she wanted to have a 24-hour radio running and in real time, and you'd have to find clues during the whole day. And then we contemplated the amount of content needed to do that, and we said, no, we aren't going to do that. So the time loop is 3 minutes long, and it's a lot already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you guys have broadcasting going on throughout, like, you have this loop going on essentially this amount of time, and you have broadcasts that go per channel over the course of that time, correct? Awesome.
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, it's a certain amount of radio stations broadcasting in parallel, and it's been designed so that there is a common flow of information to find between them. But it kind of sounds like just random stations you would find on your actual radio. There could have been more, but then it was too complicated to find your way through all of it. Sometimes there are less for story reasons that I won't spoil, but it's generally around 5 to 6 radio stations at the same time.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And so in that regard, now this is the programming for the actual radio broadcasts, and as you go through, you listen to stuff to understand things. Could you speak to, and well, I guess, could we get a basic idea of what exactly the content is in the broadcast is, and what we're talking about with this, like the setting, if you will?
I think 2 main elements would be, first, it is not a day like all the others. The game begins with a vote for a time loop. So you are called on by a so-called pirate station saying, hey, there is a vote for the time loop, but it's already there. Like, we are in it. Trying to raise awareness of this fact. They need your help to spread this information. So this is a direct call to action. Hey, help us. If you hear this, do something. So it's in this setting of imminent vote, but also maybe it's just too late. Like,
right. You don't know if it's already actually happened because time travel.
Yeah, that
makes no sense.
That's the mystery. But it's a very heavy, like, okay, we're going to vote for a thing that's kind of important. So that's the whole setting. And the second very important thing to understand is that the rest is exactly as it would be during a normal day. So like the talk show radio has the talk show hosts and his guests and stuff like that. The station called Fresh FM just has some poppy music and the cool duo of hosts saying jokes to each other, and like it's a normal day for them. Well, it's a day where there's a big vote, but like radio stations keep working on days like this, so it's like regular everyday things. Except, well, if you start answering this call to action to actually spread the information, you're gonna mess all of that up, and eventually the broadcasts they start shifting to like at first they don't mind, but then we received some calls about a vote or a thing or the time loop. What's that? What do you think about time loops? Oh, well, I'll tell you because this is a talk show and I'm here to talk about time loops now. And that's how they just evolve into a thing that's very dynamic and lively, and you have your part in it.
That's wild. That is so over the course of time, you kind of adjust the conversation as things go on by going back and forth and slowly pushing by watching, listening, learning, and understanding where almost the conversational pressure points are, if that makes sense, is kind of knowing.
There's some of that, there is some of that, and there's also like trying to find a balance between having power and having control, because you're spreading information, which is powerful itself, but do you completely control it? And well, here's the secret, like the whole game is about this topic in general and having you explore it. So the meta observation you can make of the game is, oh, it's trying to tell me something about the way I retweet information. Yes, absolutely. But also fun radio thing.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And I wanted to actually ask, Miriam, you said that you worked on the graphics and the visuals of this. What was the most challenging part of looping in all of this, what seems to be a lot more conversational topics, speaking, things like that? What was the biggest challenge of wrapping in your part in the design of this into that element of, this game?
I think the most challenging part is this game is focused on the audio. Like the visuals are already there to support it. It's not the main thing. It's supposed to be catchy enough so we can like communicate about the game, but it's not supposed to be like the focus of the game. So the challenging part was having some visuals to were like appealing and help to like navigate in the as a text in the stations, like having an identity for each station. They each have a logo and an art direction for that station. But if you play without looking at the screen, you don't miss crucial information. Everything is in the audio. So yeah, the challenging part was having those two things like in parallel, because I don't know if we talked about that, but you can actually play all of our frequencies without ever looking at the screen. Like the game is entirely accessible. Like even if you are visually impaired or blind, you can play that game. Everything is told through the sound of the game.
That's awesome. That's a really, really interesting way to do that. I mean, like, again, this is why, so everybody watching, this is why we took the time to ask them on. Not only are, is this the second game we've had with Prime Gaming, of yours on Prime Gaming, but also it's a very different look at how to tell a story. You hear visual novels, and are like interactive visual novels, that's the thing. But also this is like an interactive audio novel. I think kind of it's getting closer.
Narrative investigation, audio narrative investigation, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
also,
a very take.
we've used the term playable fiction podcast because that's closer to what some people expect as well. It's somewhere in between all of that.
So now I gotta ask, I always ask this when we have developers on here. During development, during the creation of this game, whether it was through programming or something art or even something that wasn't in the game itself, what was that one moment that you guys remember that stuck out that was a hurdle to overcome and or one of those moments where it kind of reminded you of why you did this, why you do this, why you take passion in this? What was that moment in your mind?
I can instantly think of one thing. It's related to the voice acting of the game, because the whole game is dubbed. Like you have a whole cast of voice actors and actresses in 3 different languages, and it was the first time that we worked on a game with voice acting. So we were basically learning how to manage that as we did it. And it was very hard because obviously it's a lot of work, and like the 3 languages things and many actors. It was really hard to do in a very short time frame to respect the deadlines for the game. But when it was integrated into the game and we could like hear it with all the sound effects and because our sound designer did this awesome job on that, it was really worth it, and we were really, really glad that we did that.
All the stars kind of aligned there for you guys.
Yeah, it just became instantly like believable when we put all the things together. Like I remember being fooled once or twice by the things that the game was throwing at me. Like I wasn't expecting one reaction in particular, and I would just like, I was testing things because that's what I do. That's part of my job, coding the thing and then making sure it works. And it was like the characters were actually talking to me and answering the things I was doing, and I wasn't ready for that. Because I didn't know exactly the entire length of the content that was in there and the things that were recorded. So when the game threw some lines at me that I did not know yet, I was like sort of surprised it worked so well, even though like I know it worked that well. I made that, but it still managed to surprise me. So yeah, I think for people who did not work on it for months, it probably works even better.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I mean, I can only imagine that moment where we all see the images of the videos of somebody pressing, compile or whatever it is. I'm not a coder, so, but basically hitting run the first time and then it works and you go, no, really? I don't. So
it's really cool when it's the first time, but it's rarely the first time.
I do have one final thing to ask you guys, and then we've got to unfortunately wrap things up. I was told by the producers that, in fact, during our discussion, Barry was talking to a dog. Is that?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Jenova, you now need this game. I know half of you in this chat want to talk to dogs, so that's, if this game hasn't already been sold to you, because it's free and amazing, you can also talk to dogs. There you go. All right, well, guys, we have to wrap things up for this, but I want to hand it to each of you guys to shout out who you are, what you do, where everybody can follow you and find you before we head out. So let's go ahead and start with Diane.
Hey, I'm Diane. I'm a programmer at Accidental Queens, and you can find me on the names that will probably appear here. Yes, it worked. Thank you. I don't tweet a lot these days, and I rarely stream, but I sometimes play video games on Twitch.
Wonderful. Okay, and Miriam?
So I am Miriam, and I do art direction and graphic design at Accidental Queens. And you can find me on the internet. I am Lieutenant Amy on Twitter and Twitch. I almost never stream, but I'm always looking at other people's stream. And also I tweet a lot.
Well, thank you guys so very much, guys. Please go grab this wonderful game by Accidental Queens. It's Alt Frequencies. Thank you again so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful night. Get some sleep. It's 2 a.m, all right? Go to bed.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. All righty. So there you go. Seriously, guys, if you guys don't have that, that's why we took the time to explain it more, because it's complicated, but not complicated. It's just different and a really interesting take on how to make a video game. All right. So go grab that. That's Alt Frequencies. You can get it with Prime Gaming today.